Welcome, everybody. We are back. Cover 2 show presented by Tigervision. I'm Patrick Neal, Grayson Mann, as always. And if we needed more chaos in an already chaotic season, we got it this weekend.
I feel like it was a relatively quiet weekend. Nothing happened, right? Like, there weren't any, like, little brothers shut out.
No, of course not.
No.
We've got a lot of games to get to. We've got a lot of news to get to. But first, we got to talk about this Lincoln Riley hire.
Oh, my goodness.
Out of nowhere, from the top rope, Lincoln Riley. Who saw this coming?
I don't think anybody did. I think Lincoln Riley was very much tied to the LSU job, or he was going to stay at Oklahoma. It literally was a sequence of events. So I'm just going to tell you my personal perspective. I'm walking back from Williams-Brice. I'm passing all the auto shops and like the barbed wire, and I'm watching the Oklahoma State game, and they lose, and then the press conference happens as we're driving home. And then literally the next morning, it's just, Lincoln Riley's going to USC. I was like, wait, hold on. I got to like check my, this isn't like a fake Adam Schefter bomb or something.
Yeah.
It was nuts. I don't understand how this happened. What a move.
I don't either. I mean, Lincoln Riley got the bag for sure, though. There were some little leaks about his supposed contract details. $110 million, $1 million in bonuses because USC is buying his 2 houses in Oklahoma. $6 million mansion in California and an unlimited use of a private jet, if those are correct.
This is the meme. Tell him to bring me my money.
Yeah, for real. I mean, if those numbers are close, or if anything close to that, Lincoln Riley, I mean, fair play for getting that. They said though that they started talking to him on that Sunday.
No.
I don't know if that's true or not. You don't make a decision like that. You don't decide to move your family all the way across the country in like 12 hours.
No, definitely not.
So I gotta think it was more in the works. It had been in the works for a while. And a lot of Oklahoma fans are going to be playing Marvin's Room on repeat after
They're a little
this week.
salty too.
I know. You got some traitor flags going up, which is a little bit understandable.
I kind of want to check like the 2025, 2026 schedule. I want to see those two play in Oklahoma. That would be
nice.
It's kind of like they're comparing it. It's as ridiculous as it gets. They're comparing it to Kevin Durant leaving Oklahoma City.
It's
ironically
a little
it's
bit
in
comparable.
the same spot.
I mean, he said the day before that. In a press conference, they asked him if he was going to LSU, and he goes, "No, I'm not going to LSU."
I mean, he's right. He wasn't lying.
He's not going to LSU, but that was a little snaky.
Answer.
But anyways, how is this going to affect Oklahoma? How is this going to affect USC?
So for starters, USC is going to dominate recruiting, and especially on the West Coast in the Pac-12, a conference that's been pretty irrelevant in the big scope and the big picture. I don't see you have schools like Mater Dei, Bosco, the big schools. You have like. At Clemson, you have DJ, who's from California, Bryce Young, who's from California. This is not going to happen anymore. If Lincoln Riley's successful and he has that pull, especially on offense, you're a 5-star quarterback, and especially like Bishop Gorman, why leave? It's comfortable, California.
Sunny
and
weather.
I'm going to bring up something else, too. The NIL plus Lincoln Riley, the sponsorships you could get.
You're going to get a lot of them there.
It's a town, it's a city of superstars.
Southern California is nice. There's a reason people like to live there. I mean, yes, the same temperature all year round.
I appreciate that now.
I mean, I kind of like the colder weather. Sometimes.
I'd like it to snow and then go back to like being 70 degrees every day.
I like the fall weather. Shout out fall weather.
Shout out the fall weather.
But anyways, yeah, he is gonna have a field day with those California recruits. I mean, four highly rated recruits, 3 5-stars and a 4-star have already decommitted from Oklahoma, and I'm gonna assume one of them's already committed to USC.
It's gonna keep happening. It's a domino effect.
I gotta assume a few of them are gonna follow. A few more of them are gonna follow. But what do you think about Caleb Williams? You think he's gonna stay at Oklahoma, go to USC?
He tweeted that he's going to stay at Oklahoma, and that could be very much just an initial like reaction, just to see what people say. But he's gonna have to compete with this new guy that's coming in, the 5-star. It's Malachi Nelson. And then you have Jackson Dart, who's already established himself
I think Malachi Nelson actually decommitted.
Really?
Yeah, he was
talking about going to USC as well.
Okay. Gotcha.
So if Caleb Williams were to go, I'll just follow Lincoln, he's going to have a lot of competition there, and Spencer Rattler's gone, so it'll finally be his team. So maybe he'll want to carve out his own legacy at Oklahoma. Spencer Rattler transferring, I think, was inevitable regardless. So, but everybody's dipping. Everyone's just saying, all right, I'm gone. I don't want to be a part of a rebuild.
I'm headed out, but
especially with and I think with Lincoln Riley, I can see the move I don't think he wants to play second fiddle to Nick Saban. I don't think he wants to play second fiddle to Brian Kelly now, which we'll talk about in a second.
The Pac-12 is his conference.
The SEC move, I don't think he wanted in the first place. So there's a lot of stuff that was going on, and that the writing on the wall, he's not going to be able to recruit as strongly. The politics of the SEC, there's just so much stuff. I think moving to USC was not only the smartest move for him, but probably the best move for college football.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me of the whole Lane Kiffin situation when he went to USC. Tried to get a few Tennessee recruits.
Try to steal them.
That one I think might have been a little bit more messy. There was a whole riot, I believe, outside their hotel. But yeah, Alex Grinch is going with him too. A few other coordinators, a few other of Oklahoma staff are going with Lincoln Riley, and Oklahoma might be in a little bit of trouble. Not gonna lie, they got to get somebody in there fast because Lincoln Riley signed that deal the first day of the recruiting period, where they were able to contact and talk with recruits. Early signing day is December 15th, so yeah, Oklahoma's got to get somebody in there quick.
They got to find somebody, but who?
It might be, Venables, Brett Venables, the Clemson DC has been in the news with it because I believe he was on staff a while ago with Oklahoma. Yeah. You've got, Luke Fickell is going to be in the conversation, but I don't know if he really fits Oklahoma or not.
I think he's comfortable too at Cincinnati, especially if they make the playoff.
I think he might go to Notre Dame maybe, but we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Oklahoma's got to find somebody quick.
It's going to be a big question mark, but I think that we'll find out sooner rather than later. Not to no pun intended with that one, but we're going to find out very quickly how this will play out. The Big 12, obviously, is going to be in chaos in the next couple of years. Just not only with Lincoln Riley leaving, their prominent head coach, they're going to the SEC soon, so they got to find somebody that is willing to make that switch immediately because it's not going to be very quick. In the Big 12, they're not going to be there very long. And who's going to be able to recruit well. Yeah. This is a very interesting situation.
But if we want to talk about somebody else who got the bag, Brian Kelly, I think the numbers came out today that it's $95 million for 10 years. That is quite nice. Brian Kelly cashed in his lottery ticket.
Everybody's getting in the money. I think
everybody's getting.
Nick Saban gets a raise, I believe, too, because he gets paid, I think, it's like some percentage, whatever SEC coach is getting paid the highest, he gets like a raise.
Really?
I saw that right as before we were shooting. I was like,
just to make sure he stays the top coach. Makes sense. You definitely don't want to lose Nick Saban. But Brian Kelly, man, he's Notre Dame's all-time winningest coach. A lot of Notre Dame fans will probably be happy that he leaves. I don't know. I feel like there's mixed feelings. Like a lot of Notre Dame fans seem to hate him. But he's constantly getting them 10-win seasons. Yeah. Even if they don't perform in the playoffs like some of the other teams, they have been there a lot more than a lot of solid teams. But it was very, very quick, and it seemed kind of like the Oklahoma situation where a lot of the players were salty. I think they found out over social media, and there was like a leaked text of him potentially sending it to his team that he's sorry that they didn't find out from him.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This is going to be really, really interesting to see. You got Marcus Freeman, who it's his first year as DC. I think he either becomes Notre Dame's head coach or goes with Brian Kelly to USC.
He seems like the player favorite, though. I've seen a lot of Notre Dame players saying, hey, we want this guy to be the next one. It seems like a much more peaceful transition of power than the one in Oklahoma. But I was very shocked. Like the Lincoln Riley thing, I think the general shock factor, I was pretty much ready for anything at that point. But I was so wow. This one feels like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That one it just feels very off-brand, but I feel like it'll work because Brian Kelly can recruit, and he brings stability to an LSU school that's going to have to, they're shuffling out Orgeron. It's just, I have a big question mark for this one.
Well, he also doesn't have to worry about Notre Dame's academic standards anymore.
It's true.
And LSU has a very, very hot recruiting bed in Louisiana. He's going to be able to get recruits. And yeah, like I said, he's not going to have to worry about the academic standards. But this one's more interesting because Notre Dame is still potentially in the playoff race.
Yeah, so we just kind of I guess it's the $95 million. You just got to take it. But with Notre Dame, if something happened, let's say Oklahoma State and Cincinnati lose this weekend, Notre Dame's in.
Potentially.
It is interesting.
But, wow. Just I did see something. The rankings came out not too long ago. I saw something that the committee is saying the decision of Brian Kelly to move to LSU might impact how they see Notre Dame going forward this season in the playoffs.
That's interesting.
So even if those teams lose, Notre Dame isn't a shoo-in, which I don't think they are anyways because
No.
they lost to Cincinnati and they don't have a conference championship.
Yeah, so it'll be very it's going to be. I agree with the playoff thing. Is that why now, especially when your team's got such a shot to go back-to-back years.
Yeah.
But it feels like for him, it's an opportunity that he can't pass up. This is next to Notre Dame. LSU might be a tier up in terms of just coaching prominence, coaching jobs. In my mind, I know Notre Dame's such a brand, but LSU. I mean, you had Nick Saban, who's gone there, won a national championship. You've had Les Miles gone there, competed for a national championship. I believe he did. He won one. And then you have Ed Orgeron, who's won one. So maybe he's thinking, if I can just establish a culture here and get the players I want, we can win a national championship.
Yeah, that's what he's thinking. I mean, Notre Dame is a brand. They do have the deal with NBC, of course, but I think LSU is that little bit of a tier above.
Right.
When it comes to like excitement for a job or desire to be there, because LSU is a brand in its own. But if I mean, there's so many coaching hires this week. Like, we didn't even talk about Dan Mullen last week, so we can touch on it quickly. But Billy Napier got hired at Florida a few days ago, and
he's going to get shoved under the rug because of all that's happening.
Yeah, because of everything that's happening. It's a good hire. Louisiana, he had Louisiana 3 straight 10-win seasons. They had never done it in their program history before. Napier, he comes in with excitement. He had a good offensive team, a good offensive system at Louisiana, and yeah, I mean, I don't know if Napier's quite the excitement level of Lincoln Riley, but it's still a very, very decent hire. I don't know how far down on the list he was. I mean, maybe they were looking for someone like Lane Kiffin to step in, but yeah, I think this is a good hire. Scott Strickland, he said about Dan Mullen that it was basically a combination of multiple things that led to the decision of them firing him. But Dan Mullen is 3rd in winning percentage at Florida all time, behind Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer. So, and he was only there for 4 seasons. So, it's crazy to me that they fired him when they gave him a raise like just last year.
There's got to be something going on behind the scenes that we're not aware of, because Dan Mullen was, from last year, you're a loss away from potentially putting Florida in the playoffs.
Exactly.
So it just seems like there might have been something, especially with COVID, a lot of coaches, there's just a lot behind the scenes. We're not going to get into those specifics, but there could be some differing views, differing oppositions, just on how things are being run. Maybe you just want to go separate ways, because Dan Mullen's a very good coach.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be shocked if he is thrusted back into the conversation for potentially Oklahoma or something else that comes up, because he's a really good coach. But I think for Florida, they just needed new direction.
Yeah, I think he had kind of lost the locker room a little bit.
Yeah, and once you do that, it's over.
I think he was struggling a little bit with recruiting. I mean, you had the comments side by side with Kirby Smart talking about how they're recruiting constantly all year.
Yeah,
and Mullen
that was
like,
kind of a what?
We're recruiting just when it's the off season, basically. So that probably didn't look too good for him. But I mean, I good for Napier. I mean, hopefully he's able to get this Florida team going. Then Mullen also lost a lot of talent.
He did
this past year.
He did.
So, I mean, it's definitely not the season you wanted to have. They go 6-6 and barely become bowl eligible. But I mean, I don't know. The move to fire Mullen is a little bit perplexing to me, I think.
I think that that you'll have Napier will come in, he'll bring stability, he'll bring excitement and energy, and just a new fresh face might be what Florida needs. Especially there's going to be a new face in Brian Kelly. There's just going to be so much going on right now. It's like tough for me to process, because you had Billy Napier. I was like, all right, we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about TCU for a little bit. We're going to talk this, we'll talk that, and then oh my gosh, out of nowhere, just like falling out of your seat. This is what makes college football special, though, is that chaos.
I love it, baby.
Gotta love it.
We can talk a little bit about the games this weekend.
Woo!
I mean, first off, you got to start.
Finally.
Finally. Although, as I'm gonna say, I've said it before, I was an Ohio State fan growing up. Even though I go to Clemson now, I was an Ohio State fan growing up, had family up there. And it hurt a little bit to see Michigan pull it out this weekend.
I know you don't have to, but I'm going to give Harbaugh a round of applause.
We got to give it to him.
He
finally did it.
Finally.
Finally.
I was so happy for this.
And, Michigan looked a much better team this weekend.
Physically, domination.
Physically
Hassan
dominant.
Haskins, who's also, I mentioned, this was my thought process going into this game, is that patience with Harbaugh, because I know he was being called to be fired. There was a lot of just garbage in the media, and guys, we need to be patient. So you had a senior in Hassan Haskins have the biggest game of his life with the coach that for the last 5 years could not beat Ohio State. Patience prevails today, because you have the senior who stuck with it. He could have gone somewhere else, said, hey, I know what I am in this as a player. I could go somewhere else, figure it out. Now he stayed. They have a chance at the playoff. And I have in our notes, you've seen SpongeBob with the chocolate guy where he's like, I've caught you finally. And now he just wants the chocolate, which is the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, if he wins this weekend, I was no gimme, I don't think.
No, they're not a gimme.
They have a very good defense, but if he wins this week, he's in. And Aiden Hutchinson, he said, "Don't call me kiddo." He had 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. He's on 12 sacks and 14.5 tackles for loss this season. He's having a monster year.
He was basically saying, you guys want Kayvon Thibodeau at number 1? No. I got this, guys. He said basically, hold my beer.
Yeah.
And took care of business. He had 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. Now he's got 12 sacks on the year.
Yep.
And then Chase Young is who we're comparing him to. I think he could be potentially better. We'll see, though. We'll see.
I've got a little another shout out in a second for it about the comparison with Chase Young. But anyways, a lot of Ohio State's issues that had kind of been with them all year showed up again. Empty yards, no points leading off of those, having to settle for field goals. I mean, Stroud had almost 400 passing yards, but only 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, a lot of just stupid mistakes. You were just like, what are you doing?
They had a bad defense. They were tossed around by Michigan's offensive line and defensive line all day.
Every time Michigan ran, it seemed like a toss or a dive. It seemed Ohio State's D-line was getting pushed back, and people were cracking, people were going left and right. I was like, this is just, and it was the exact formula you need against an explosive offense with these receivers in Ohio State is keep them off the field, 6-minute, 7-minute, 8-minute drives. This was the formula. This is a formula that it reminds me of a Georgia, but I don't. I'm talking with my family about this, that Ohio State could be the equalizer to Georgia, and now I'm thinking, who's going to beat them? I'm just not sure.
Yeah. I mean, Michigan just looks like a little bit worse Georgia.
They're like the mini-me from
pretty much.
Austin Powers.
From Austin Powers.
Cultural icon.
Yeah. It was a very, very, Big Ten looking game. You had the snow everywhere. You had the teams fighting in the locker room at halftime, but
some birds were flown at other players, but
yep, a few of them. But I mean, Ohio State is always talking about how Michigan's their little brother, but not this week, unfortunately. And Ohio State has to wait another 365 days to prove that Michigan is their little brother.
Rough weekend for little brothers. I mean, you got South Carolina, you got Ohio State.
South Carolina.
Poor guys. We won't really talk about it. We don't want to keep banging on it.
You don't want to stick that knife in deeper. Twist that.
I mean, Will Shipley and them did it enough. And
just
a little bit. I mean, we'll press it a little bit. 30-0. What?
No.
What?
Oh.
What?
But anyways, another game, another rivalry game. Iron Bowl. Alabama survives against Auburn.
Survived.
4 overtimes. Wow. This was. I think this game really showed the importance of someone like Jamison Williams. He was taken out of the game for targeting a little early into the second quarter, and they hadn't scored at that point. They didn't score until the 4th quarter.
They last second. They were.
It was not a great offensive performance for Alabama. I mean, Bryce Young, he wasn't very, very good, but he did show up when it mattered. He did show a lot of poise, a lot of resilience late in the 4th quarter into overtime when he had to. But you're talking about Chase Young and Aiden Hutchinson comparison.
I was. And I see who you got.
So. I want to talk about Will Anderson. Will Anderson, on the season, 14.5 sacks, 28 tackles for loss. Chase Young, his 2019 season when he finished 4th in the Heisman voting, 16.5 sacks and 21 tackles for loss. Now, Anderson is probably going to surpass, he's already surpassed the tackles for loss by a decent amount. Yes, Chase Young didn't play 2 games. It was 1 or 2 games? 2 games, I believe.
So I think it was 2 games.
He didn't play 2 games because of that whole wacky whatever it was situation.
It's a long time.
But Anderson's going to surpass that. He won't have the forced fumble numbers that Chase Young had. But in a year when it's a lot about defense this year, and when there's no clear-cut Heisman, give Will Anderson the Heisman, man.
I think we got a campaign starting here.
I mean, Bryce Young didn't look too great in this game. It was his moment to really show why he's the Heisman winner. He got shut down for most of the game from an Auburn team who played really, really well in defense. But yeah, please give the Heisman to Will Anderson.
I'm gonna ask you a question here because I'm really curious to see your take on it because I personally have not been high on Bama all year. Is it a bad look for Bama when this Auburn team is certainly underwhelmed this year, or is this just this is a rivalry game and anything can happen at this point? Because I don't know if it's the emotion of Auburn that they brought to the table, or is it Alabama, and we can add Jamison Williams to the conversation, but this should have been a blowout.
I mean, it's the Iron Bowl especially is always going to be close.
Right.
No matter how good the teams are. You're always going to have that fight from both teams, that desire from both teams to go out and pull the upset if you're Auburn in this case, or dominate your opponent. But I think it continues to prove that Bama is weak. Now, they're always going to play at least to the level of their competition, if not more, if we're talking about looking forward to Georgia this coming weekend. So they're going to give anybody a game, regardless of how good they are compared to normal Bama teams. But like I said earlier, I think it just shows the dependence on Alabama for Jamison Williams and that deep shot, that dynamic playability, and it shows that Alabama is not the normal Alabama team we tend to see.
We'll see. We'll find out very quickly because that Georgia team is mean.
Is very, very good.
All right. The last game of Lincoln Riley's career at Oklahoma, the shootout.
Yep.
And this game was very odd because it was very back and forth. There was a lot of, well, Oklahoma's got it now. Well, Oklahoma State's got it now. They're in control. Or Oklahoma's in control. And then Oklahoma State's in control. And then in the end, the Sooners were not able to close it out. Caleb Williams actually had a pretty insane play. It was the final drive, and he had like a 50-yard run. I was like, oh, here we go.
He got smacked out of bounds.
He did.
He was on the ground for a second, and I wasn't sure if he was going to get up. But
yeah.
They almost pulled it back. They almost came back after being up and kind of controlling the game, especially in that third quarter. Oklahoma State had, in just that third quarter, safety, muff punt, interception, all in that third quarter. But Oklahoma was not able to capitalize. They scored the majority of their points in the first half. Second half, Caleb Williams was not great. He was, 6 for 18 with 48 yards in the second. They only scored on defense.
Yeah.
So Oklahoma really had a chance to assert themselves in the second half and didn't do it. But to end the game, Oklahoma State had a game-winning sack, and Oklahoma was not able to snap another play before the time expired. But yeah, like you were saying, Lincoln Riley's last game.
It stings too, I think, even more to lose your rival and then lose your coach in the span of 24 hours. And I want to talk about Oklahoma State for a second because, again, it'll be a potentially new team in the playoff. Oklahoma State all year has been about defense and about making turnovers, creating plays. This is what they needed to show to the committee. You put up 37 points.
Yeah,
the defense struggled, and their offense came in when they needed it the most. Now, Spencer Sanders wasn't terrific, but he made the plays when he needed to in the ground and on the air. This is what Oklahoma State needs if they want to potentially make an unbelievable run and get Mike Gundy, who wore that cowboy hat pretty good, to a national championship.
Very nice. The mullet's always nice.
Yes.
Yeah, like you were saying, Oklahoma State has been all about defense all year. And all of a sudden, they give up 33 to Oklahoma, which, granted, is a decent offense, but they're able to put up 37. Spencer Sanders has a lot of experience under his belt. He's able to be a very, very when he's not turning the ball over, he's able to be a very, very decent quarterback.
They got a test against Baylor next week. We'll see.
Yeah, Oklahoma State lost that game earlier in the year, I believe.
So it'll be a rematch.
So it will be a rematch, and if they're able to win, they're probably in. Assuming, they need Alabama to lose this week and probably lose convincingly. I don't think Alabama should be in regardless on how much.
Two losses, they're out, in my opinion.
If they lose, regardless of how much they lose, they shouldn't be in. But yeah, Oklahoma win and basically in, I got to think.
I think so.
I think they have a very, very good shot at it.
It'll be very interesting if Saturday the chaos is just like,
Yeah.
it could be nuts.
If say like Alabama won, or even if Alabama lost close, Cincinnati lost, Oklahoma State lost, Michigan lost, we couldn't handle that.
It'd be more nuts than just, I don't even want to think about it. My mind will just blow. It'll explode.
Yeah, but
All right. Do we want to do our college football rankings? This is our last one before the playoffs hit.
oh yeah, it is.
Is this the last one?
It
'Cause
is.
We
Ceremonial.
Really, us telling the viewers that we want these teams in will be irrelevant when the teams are actually in. So
Yes.
I think we can agree. This is not a very controversial opinion that Georgia is number one until
Georgia is
proven
one.
otherwise.
They beat Georgia Tech by a lot this weekend.
No points either for Georgia Tech in a rivalry game too.
Georgia Tech lost their last 2 games 100-0. Come on.
It's that Cumberland curse, man.
Yeah. If you saw Georgia Tech Stadium, it was all red. That's yikes.
Yikes.
Also, Georgia Tech's running back. I don't know if you saw this. He is in the transfer portal now.
I did not. Oh.
I don't remember his name. Oh shucks.
Shucks.
I don't remember. But yes, he is in the transfer portal, so not good for Georgia Tech, who have had a very, very bad last 2 weeks, losing to Notre Dame and Georgia. But
Not fun.
Georgia's won.
Number
Michigan 2.
Yes.
I think we both agree on this.
we
I
do.
think we're probably going to agree on the rankings for the most part.
Very little.
But Michigan beat Ohio State. Talked about it.
job.
Very good job. They deserve to be the number 2 team. Only have 1 loss to a Michigan State team that I think
fell out of relevance in the last couple weeks.
a little bit. But they have a very, very strong defense, very, very strong running game. And they're, like we said earlier, kind of Georgia light. They're the free version on the App Store of Georgia football.
They got the ads every like couple seconds. They you get like a
when the X's are tiny and you go to click on it
you're
and
like,
you end up just clicking on the ad.
It's like some
I
weird.
hate that.
It's some weird game. You're like, ooh, this looks fun. Let me play that. And then you go on that game and there's an ad for a new game, and it's just a cycle.
It's awful. It's awful.
Zach knows.
I hate the light versions of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, number 3 team, Cincinnati.
Bearcats, come on, one more game.
One more game.
One more game.
Please win. I want to see this group of 5 team get in.
They will be the team that I will root for personally in the playoff, even though I know that if they play Georgia, it's gonna be a game over.
They need to avoid playing Georgia.
They do. They need to play them at the last possible second, where like national championship, anything goes. If they play Michigan, still though, that'll be tough.
If they play like an Oklahoma State, that would be something to watch. But I mean, even if they do play Georgia, like last year, they almost beat them.
They played
and
them
they were playing a lot of players that are starting on this Georgia team now. Like if you go back and look at the box score, it's a lot of it's Nakobe Dean, it's Jordan Davis, it's JT Daniels who isn't starting, but maybe he starts for the playoffs. I don't know.
Peach Bowl revenge game, calling it now.
That would be great.
Ridiculous.
To see Cincinnati pull that one out. But yeah, if they win, I think they're in. I mean, if like Alabama were to win, Oklahoma State were to win, Michigan were to win,
it's at the point where they don't need to like blow them out either, because they're in the bubble. They're not like they're not asking for help.
Yeah.
So
plus Houston's ranked. So
can I say too that this year could be, we have 4 new teams from last year. That is awesome.
That would be sick.
That is awesome.
Yeah, not the Ohio State's, Alabama's, Clemson's. Man. Anyways.
I think we need Marvin's room.
Yeah, we need Marvin's room.
Number
Drake.
4.
Anyways, Alabama, I think.
Yeah.
You think? We both think.
I mean, it's just, Alabama and Oklahoma State, it's so weird to like put those two together because they're so different.
They are
They
so
couldn't be
different.
more opposite. And
Yeah.
as of right now, I'd take Bama against Oklahoma State. And I know I've said before that I hate that argument, but I just need to see Oklahoma State after this emotional win. I need to see them close it out against Baylor.
I think
And then
so
I'll
too.
put them ahead Bama.
And Alabama's really just a placeholder until they play Georgia. If they beat Georgia, fair enough, they should be in.
Bold prediction, Georgia by 2 touchdowns this Saturday.
Really?
In Atlanta. Calling it.
See, I think it's going to be close personally. I kind of hope it's close.
I mean, that'd be nice, but I think Bama is.
I don't think Nick Saban is going to be blown out by 2 touchdowns, though.
Watch for that Georgia defensive line versus that weaker Bama
That's true.
offensive line.
That's true.
Can Bryce Young get the ball out quick enough?
Can Will Anderson go berserk?
That'd be nuts if he like single-handedly won the game.
Will Anderson goes nuclear and locks up his Heisman case.
We're gonna get that Freezing Cold Takes Instagram account to just bully us.
Yeah, they'll clip this, but
that'd be kind of cool though.
I'm gonna say it. Will Anderson goes crazy.
What is crazy for you though?
I'm not gonna put a stat line on it, but
All right.
he is their difference maker that keeps it close. I don't know if Bama wins, but
All right, for us, number 5, we agree that it's Oklahoma State.
yes,
I think the only one that
Pokes.
we split on is the 6th one.
Yep.
But
it
now
is.
that Brian Kelly's gone and I have Notre Dame there, they're there solely because they haven't lost twice. Mm-hmm. And Ohio State has lost twice.
We'll talk about this in a second. But anyways, about Oklahoma State, they, like we said, if they win, they're basically in. Assuming Bama loses. But
Very big if.
yeah, that is a bit or very big if. Or if any of the Michigan, Cincinnati, Alabama lose, Oklahoma State is probably in. And even if all 3 of them win, they might jump Cincinnati. In all honesty.
But all right, I'm gonna throw something at you. What if Georgia loses and everyone else wins? Wouldn't Oklahoma State beating the team that they lost to kind of rectify that loss? If I'm a committee member, in my mind, that shows improvement from that time. They would have beaten the opponent they lost to. I'm throwing it at you. That'll be
that's a headache I do not wish to have if I'm the committee.
They won't. No matter what they choose, someone's gonna not be pleased with it, even if it's the chalk decision.
I think they would kick out Cincinnati. In all honesty.
Oh no.
But
no.
I kind of hope that doesn't happen. Anyways, yeah, Oklahoma State, if they win this weekend, they're in. We think.
If Cincinnati gets snubbed from the playoff, we're holding this cover 2 next episode will be a riot.
It'll be Marvin's Room on repeat.
Yeah, that's all we need to do.
Yeah. But anyways, our number 6 teams, as you were saying, you got Notre Dame. I got Ohio State. You want to talk about Notre Dame quickly?
And you kind of like in mid-show changed my mind because you mentioned that point that the CFP committee's like, well, now that Brian Kelly's gone, what do we really do with this Notre Dame team? And I was like, oh, that's kind of right. Like the air's kind of been taken out of the tire. They can't really get anywhere down the road. So if they somehow make it into the postseason, they just going to get beaten the tar out of by Georgia?
Maybe. I mean, you got Marcus Freeman. You still have all the talent that you have.
So maybe a playoff push would like kind of bring life, and they'd have a month to prepare.
They would. But yeah, I've got Ohio State there. I think I would have Ohio State there even if Notre Dame didn't lose Brian Kelly. I mean, losing Brian Kelly adds to it. But Notre Dame, if you look at their schedule, they've beaten like 2 or 3 teams that are above 500. It's Purdue, it's Wisconsin, and somebody else, I think.
And then they got whacked by Cincinnati.
Yeah, exactly. They lost to Cincinnati. So even if Notre Dame even if Cincinnati, Alabama, Oklahoma State, Michigan were to all lose, I don't know if Notre Dame doesn't play this weekend. So all those teams losing,
an argument would kind of be nullified.
Should you punish them for having a conference championship or getting to the conference championship when Notre Dame doesn't have one? They stay idle this week, so how much should you reward them for that?
You know what? Just throw that all out there and just put Clemson in. Final call.
I agree. They're playing good right now, but yeah, like I was saying, Ohio State. I mean, they did have a lot of issues this weekend. They were clearly the worst team against Michigan. But like Notre Dame kept it close, or Ohio State blew out Purdue. Notre Dame was a little bit close with Purdue. The
spoiler makers, man.
Yeah, I just think Ohio State is a better team, probably a more complete team than Notre Dame at this point.
Yeah.
So that's why I have them there. I mean, you could potentially persuade me to put Notre Dame in front of them, but
I don't envy the committee in that situation.
I think there's kind of, it's the top 5, and then everybody else below is like a very, very small chance, I think, of should be in the playoff.
There's like 8 is Ole Miss with 2 losses. There's just so much.
I like the Ole Miss team a lot.
I know. They'll be a really fun team to watch.
I wish they didn't have 2 losses because I want to, actually, you know what I want to see? Bowl season, Ohio State play Ole Miss,
Oh, the final score is going to be like 77,000 to 67,000.
Nice. That would be nice.
The defensive coordinator's nightmare.
Ooh.
Well, everyone, you know what's going to happen though with that kind of matchup? They're going to hype it up so much, and then it's going to be like a defensive slugfest. I'm going to be like,
That's what I want for Christmas, I think.
Ohio State versus Ole Miss. I just want
Or
to.
Ohio State like Alabama or something.
I want to go to a Patriots playoff game. That's my wish.
I want to go to a Bengals playoff game.
Ooh, they might actually play each other.
Hey, they blew out Pittsburgh this weekend.
You want to see NFL Cover 2 stuff? Just let us know.
Shout out Joe Mixon.
Oklahoma guy.
Oklahoma guy.
Probably not very happy.
Probably not very happy with Lincoln Riley. But
that do it for you?
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
I don't got too much else to say.
All
Oh,
right.
actually, we do have to mention something.
Oh.
Awesome. We're filming this when the news broke somewhat recently. Otis Anderson, Jr., former UCF running back, he was shot and killed today, I believe. So prayers go out to his family. That's really something awful to hear.
Yeah.
You never want to hear something like that. And yeah, like I said, prayers out to his family. Hopefully, may he rest in peace, I guess.
Yeah, seriously. Prayers go out to the families. And guys, on that note, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in every week. We'll be covering the conference championship games on our Instagram Live before it'll either be Friday or Saturday morning. We'll figure it out, but we'll let you guys know. Thank you, as always, for the support. Y'all stay safe, take care, and have a great week.
Have a good one.